How's it going, guys? Football-ManagerYouthDevelopment.co.uk here. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look how to make the most out of the strongest attributes that your players have on Football Manager. If this is the first time you have watched a video on the channel, we mainly take a look at Football Manager tips and help guides, so if you have not yet done so, please do subscribe to the channel. So whatever team you manage on Football Manager, it's really important to make sure that you know exactly what are your players' strengths and weaknesses. I'm just going to take a look at this guy just as a pretty good example because he's got some really bad attributes and some attributes that are fairly decent for the level of football that I'm playing at. So firstly, we're going to take a look at this guy's weaker attributes, and the things that stand out immediately to me are his bravery, which is only 3. Obviously the bravery trait is going to be when he's going into tackles, headers, things like this. How brave is he going to be going into these type of things? And also I'm having a look at his dribbling attribute, which is only 3. He's got a flair attribute of 4 as well. So this player, yeah, he's basically not very good at all at like dribbling with the ball. In terms of when he actually gets the ball, he does have good, well, fairly good technique for the level of football that I'm playing in at the moment. But if you're making him sort of dribble with the ball and, you know, expecting him to do something out of the ordinary with his flair attribute of only 4, it's simply not going to happen. On the other side of the coin, I'm just having a look at some of his stronger attributes. So his passing attribute is 15. He's got very good first touch at 14. His off the ball attribute for this level of football is not too bad at 11. He's got good vision at 12, good work rates at 13. And like I mentioned earlier, his technique is 11. So a good thing to do, guys, whenever you are making a tactic and having a look at some of the players that you have got in your team, if I was to pick that particular player to play in my team for this example, so yeah, put him in just in the middle of the pitch. What you can basically do, you can click on player here and you can actually add individual player instructions. So if I go to add player, yeah, you'll basically see that that's the player here, and if you add the selected player, then it will add the player in for you. Like I mentioned, this guy has got very little in the way of his dribbling skills. So yeah, dribbling attribute of 3 and his flair attribute of 4. So in my mind, obviously it's not going to be a very good idea for this guy to be dribbling with the ball. As you can see here, in terms of an instruction, I'm asking him to dribble less with the ball, and as you can see, it says it basically asks the player to pass the ball around and not attempt to beat the opponent individually. So obviously this guy's passing attribute is 15. I'm asking him to dribble less, which is going to be making him use his passing attribute a little bit more. If I click on here, we will basically be able to have a look at some of the other things that might be quite good for this guy. So potentially if we have a look at the sort of like ease off tackles, for example. So when he's being asked to ease off tackles, it's going to be having a look at how aggressive he is going into the tackles, and we know that this guy has not got any bravery at all. So the chance of this guy actually going into a tackle are going to be pretty limited. Basically, he's not going to be going into too many sort of like aggressive tackles, and if there's like a 50-50 and he doesn't really have a very good chance of winning the ball, then it's going to be certainly better for him to go, you know, pick his moments when he's actually going to win the ball and he knows that he's got a better chance of winning it. So potentially like asking him to ease off tackles is going to be quite a good thing to do. Just having a look at the more risky passes as well. So if we have a look, yeah, potentially he might have a good chance of playing more risky passes. Like I mentioned, if you do get him to play more risky passes, then obviously he's got the potential to be unlocking defenses. Now, what I'm having a look at here as well, guys, I know that this guy's passing attribute is 15. I know that he's got good technique, so that when he does pass the ball, he's actually able to execute it fairly well. And I know that he's got a vision attribute of 12, which is not too bad, to be honest, for the level of football that I'm playing at here. In terms of other attributes that could play a role in him actually being able to make a more risky pass, it's going to be things like his anticipation. Is he going to be able to see my striker in a decent position further up the pitch, and is he going to be actually able to pick him out? And his decision making skill as well is going to come into play. So If he's in the middle of the park with the ball, he's going to be looking around just to check out the movements of maybe one of my wingers, one of my other strikers. They might be making fairly decent move. And I know that in terms of his passing attribute and his technique and vision, I'm fairly happy with them things. So that I know that when he's got the ball, he's got the vision, and he should be able to see my strikers and my wingers actually making them particular moves, which is going to be where his vision kicks in. But in terms of his anticipation and his decision making, they're not too bad, to be honest. Obviously, I would like the anticipation and his decision making skills to be a lot higher. But yeah, when he's got the ball, basically, is he going to be able to anticipate the run that the striker is going to be making, or the run that the winger is going to be making? And then can he make the correct decision in terms of actually giving the ball at the correct time? It's all well and good him being able to pass the ball good, having the good technique to do it, being able to see exactly what the striker is doing, but can he actually anticipate a run that the striker is going to make, or a run that the winger is going to make? So these are the type of things that you need to basically be thinking about when you're having a look and playing to the strengths of your players. Likewise, so I'll just have a real quick look at another player as well. Okay, so we'll just have a look at one more example, and the player that I wanted to take a look at is my left winger. So for my team, he's classed as a quality player, and I do quite like this guy. I think he's pretty decent for the level of football that I'm playing at. So another thing that you can do, obviously playing to a player's strengths, it's always going to be a good idea to have a look at their traits. Does your player like to get forward? Do they like to cut inside from the left wing, or do they like running with the ball more often? There's quite a number of different player traits on Football Manager, so it's important to see what your player is actually capable of and seeing what they actually like doing. In this particular case, this guy likes to get forward whenever possible. This is absolutely fine for me, as he's quite a creative player. He's got fairly good crossing attributes. He's got better anticipation than the last guy. His decision making is pretty bad, but he's got fairly good flair and dribbling attributes and things like that. So he's not too much of a bad player, this guy. I do quite like him. In terms of how I might use this guy, so we do know that he likes to get forward whenever possible. If I again take a look at the tactics, then click on player. If I click on my left midfielders, you can see here that I've set up some individual instructions basically for this player to do. So if we have a look at the edit here, when the team has the ball, what I want this guy to do is get further forward. Of course, he likes getting forward, so it's going to be quite a good idea to make sure that this guy is getting further forward. He likes getting further forward, so why not let him get further forward? It's quite a sort of simple thing to actually think about. Again, I do like the fact that this guy has a fairly decent crossing attribute at 12, and his decision making attribute is only 6. So one thing I am actually thinking about is this guy, whenever he is looking to make a decision, obviously he's not very good at that type of thing, but he is fairly good at crossing. So I basically want this guy to get into a position where if he does get into a crossing attribute sort of position, I just want him to cross the ball without actually having to think about it. He's not very good at sort of like thinking about the best thing to do. But his anticipation is quite good, so he is able to anticipate potentially when a striker is going to be making a move and things like that. But yeah, his decision making skill in terms of actually when he gets the cross in is not going to be very good. So for me, I think it's going to be a good idea for this guy to just get the ball in as a cross without him actually thinking about it. So what I've decided to do is just get him to cross it when he's on the byline. So I basically want this guy running down the pitch, getting as far forward as he can. When he gets quite close to the byline, I just want him to cross the ball in without pretty much thinking too much. I don't want his decision-making attribute to be playing too much of a part on what this guy is actually doing on the pitch. Likewise, I do like his crossing attribute, and his passing attribute's not too bad either. So yeah, there's quite a few different things that you can do in terms of actually playing to a player's strength. Whenever you go to your squad screen, what I would recommend that you do is just to have a look around and just familiarize yourself with the key attributes of some of the players you've got in your team. So I do think it's a good idea to have a look at the sort of decision-making skills, anticipation. Have you got a fast player? Do you want him running with the ball a lot more often? These are the type of things that you can actually have a think about. So this guy here, I've got him on loan from Juventus. He's only 18 years old, but I do think he's going to be a pretty decent player for me. The type of things that I'm having a look at here in terms of playing up to this guy's stronger attributes, I can see that he's got good dribbling skills, good flair, fairly decent acceleration, good anticipation. So if this was my player, good technique as well. If this was my player, what I would be doing is going to training. It looks like I can actually do it, which is pretty good. I think it's in the technique training. Nope. Basically, what I was going to be looking for him to do is just for him to run with the ball a lot more. So, yeah, there's going to be one here which is basically going to be, run with the ball more often. So I do think that that's going to be quite a good thing for him to do. So yeah, I can get him started on that. Obviously, it might not be successful, but I do reckon this guy is going to be able to run with the ball a lot more often. And the fact that what should happen once that guy is trained to be able to do that, he's going to have it as a player trait. And once he's got it as a player trait, then you can introduce that into your tactics just to make the most out of the player's stronger attributes. So I'm going to call this the end of the episode, guys. If you have found this helpful, do remember to drop a like on the video and, of course, subscribe. And we will be back very soon for some more Football Manager videos. Thanks for watching.